Hello and welcome back to Homegrown with Tracie Milan. I am Tracie Milan and I am the owner of the Brew Mill Candle Company as well as Mission and McKenney Bath and Body Shop. So today we are going to make some concrete vessels, and this video is a little bit different in the sense that we are going to have them lasered. And so that's what I do now. All of my concrete vessels don't have stamps on them anymore and they don't have labels on them anymore. I now get them lasered, and I get them lasered by a company called Wouldn't It Be Nice? And I met this young couple just 2 stalls down from us at our regular Saturday morning market, and they engrave all kinds of wonderful wooden projects, and you have to check them out. I'm going to put a link down in the description below to their company. They're amazing. They have great products. And I approached them and I asked if they would be able to laser my concrete. And so we didn't know, but he thought he would give it a try, and I am so pleased with what has happened. So I wanted to show it to you, and I'm going to just start off by showing. So here's the first one, and this one is a white, it's a lighter colored. This is a used cemental, and I'm going to show in this video, we're going to do this all from beginning to end, right from the beginning right until the end. So this one here has titanium dioxide in it. This is what I use to lighten it up, and as you can see, when the laser hits it, what it does is it exposes all of the aggregate stone behind, and it leaves this lovely gold coloring in here, and that is because of the stone that's in there. So you can't tell from inside my studio because I don't have enough natural light, but this really glitters when the light hits it when we're outside at the market. It's just the coolest thing. I like it. So the other one we're going to do is we're going to make some black ones with glob marble. And so when the black one gets engraved, it has also the gold, but it looks really cool and once again glitters. And so these are the oval ones. I'm going to be using the wooden wicks in there, and I'm going to show you how I make these beginning to end. This one here is my favorite. So this is a different oxide pigment that is also black, but disappointingly, it didn't come out black. I used the same amount of scoops as I did on this one. But what I really like about it is that the engraving came out black. So while the vessel only came out a dark gray, you see the difference between the two. This is the lighter gray and this is the dark gray. I actually quite like this. But what happened is when the laser hit it, the black then showed through in the lettering, which is awesome. I actually love it. I think out of the 3, this is my favorite. So we're going to make these today. I'm going to show you how, and we're going to go start to finish. I'm going to start with making the concrete out of using cemental. And everything I use, I'm going to put in the description down below. And if there's anything that I missed, please go ahead and write something in the comments and I'll try to find a link for it. So these are the ones we're going to make. And so if you are new here, welcome. I like to do a lot of videos of homemade stuff that I do. I am a candle company as well as a bath and body. We do bath bombs and body creams and room sprays, but mostly I do candles, and mostly I do concrete candles. I absolutely love this. And it is one of my favorite vessels, as well as our best sellers. So my customers absolutely love these, as well as they're part of the refill program. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. And so, yeah, so let's just jump right in and let's see how this works out. All right, thanks for following along. Let's see how it works. So first thing I do is I set up my workstation. I got these red silicone bowls from Amazon. I love them. And I put out my tools, which are designated just for this. I use 1 spatula, 1 spoon, and 1 butter knife for all of my making. I keep it on a napkin, keeps it nice and clean off the table. And then I roll out my cemental and I keep them in a bin. I keep that in a bin that I got from Costco. So right now I'm putting on my mask. And I highly recommend that you put on your PPE before working with this stuff. It is very dangerous on your lungs, so do not try to do this without a mask on. So I use 2 bowls and I fill them both up, but one of them is for me to mix my cement mix in, and the other one is just to have any extras handy so that I can just pour a little bit in if my mix gets a little bit too wet. And today I'm adding a black pigment to this mix. and it's not going to come out black, it's going to come out dark gray. But this is the product right here, and I really like it. I use it for this particular method, which turns it dark gray, and then what happens when I laser it is the laser comes out black, the engraved part of the vessel, which you'll see later on in the video. And I don't know what if anyone knows why that happens, please let me know, because it's really the coolest thing. I do use glob marble in my next one, and it comes out nice and black. And then what happens is when the engraving goes into the vessel, it breaks into all of that aggregate stone that's in there, even the little tiny pieces, and it glitters gold. And it's actually really, really cool, which I'll show you a picture of it. I'll do a real close-up of one of my trays that I had done. It was in black, and then the letters came out gold. But this particular mixture here comes out a nice dark gray, and when I engrave it, the letters come out really black, which I think out of all of the ones, I do a mixture. I do greens and whites and oranges and whites and a whole bunch of stuff, but I like this one. This is my favorite. So I put 2 spoons of this black pigment into this mixture, and this is approximately 3 to 1. I don't measure, and I don't weigh my ingredients anymore. I used to all the time, but I find because it's so quick setting, it only takes about 1 minute before you have to add more water, and then you have to add more cement, and then you have to add more water. So all I do is I pretty much have the idea, but it's approximately 3 parts cemental and 1 part water. But I play around with it. This butter knife is really handy to get in and scrape down the edges. And basically, I just want to get to a pouring. I don't want it to be too thin. I don't want it to be too thick. I want it to pour just like that. And yeah, it gets a little messy, especially when I'm recording and I'm moving too fast. So I take out a little bit, I bang it out, make sure I get all of those air bubbles out, give it a little tap. I love these they're steel tables that I get from Costco. I tend to just go underneath and bang with my hand, and it kind of creates a vibrating table, especially when I'm doing my lids and trays. But for these ovals, I just tap them around and get any air bubbles to rise to the surface. And so I also have, whatever I have left over, I tend to just keep trays handy. And I do like to fill the trays when I'm making my vessels so that the consistency is the same for the tray and for the vessel. It doesn't always work out that way, but it is in this situation. So I just fill it up, and then I just give them a little tap. And as you can see, there I am going underneath the table, giving a few more taps, and then I move it along. And so this is what I like about these silicone bowls. I can just scrape down my sides. And I always have a few soap dish trays molds sitting around. Anything I have left over goes into those trays, and it goes into the molds, and then I have a soap dish. And I don't really like to waste anything, and I keep those handy. So now I'm going to use the glob marble, which is going to make it really black. In fact, I'm going to use 2 tablespoons in this mixture here. And I really don't think that I needed 2. I went ahead and put 2 in because I wanted real black. But this glob marble stuff is amazing, and it honestly, you could do 1. It would come out exactly the same. I have done it with 1 since I've done this one, and it's just as black. There's no difference in 2 to 1. So in this situation, I use 2, but you can go ahead and use 1. So mix it up, get that glob marble in real well, and you'll see the difference later on in the video. I'll show you the difference between this black pigment and that other black pigment. One comes out just a dark gray, and this one here comes out black. It is as black as this mixture is right here when the vessel comes out of it. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill up my molds here, and you can see the consistency in there is going to make it nice and pourable. Sometimes I use my knife to tap along the top if the mixture comes up just a little bit too much. If it gets a little too thick, I do use a knife and just tap while I'm pouring. But if I pour quick enough before the mixture gets a chance to thicken up a little bit, I can get a nice good mix in there. So then I put the covers over top of it so that they can stay round. I have forgotten those a few times and it didn't change anything. These are just excellent molds. I'll put a description or put a link in the description. So I like to clean up right away. This glob marble black pigment is so messy. It's really, really messy. So I try to clean as I go, and I like to keep my workstation as clean as possible. And these steel tables, like I said, are from Costco, and you can scrape them, you can gouge them, you can see they're scratched. They're just amazing. I have hardwood countertops down there, And I try to keep the mess all on the steel tables. I have a lot of them. I've got rows and rows and rows of these steel tables. They're all from Costco, and they're a really good price, and I will also put a link in the description for them. I've got the super long ones, and I've got these little short ones on wheels. So I use Vim. Everything I do in my shop, as soon as I'm finished doing something, I immediately use Vim to clean everything down. It's a bleach product, and it keeps everything sterile in my studio. So whenever I'm demolding my vessels, I always keep this stainless steel bowl nearby, and that way all my crumbs can just fall inside of there. Because as you all know, when you're unmolding your vessels, they tend to shoot little chunks of concrete all over the place. And I often have my dogs nearby, and one of my dogs is Bella. You've seen her in my videos before, or you've definitely heard her snoring while I'm doing my voiceover. And she is, we call her our little house hippo. And it's because she is an opportunist. She is always waiting right at my feet for something to hit the ground so she can eat it. She is just a snacky little snacky dog, and I don't want her to mistake that for a snack. So I put on my gloves back again. I put my PPE back on. These gloves are really handy. These edges get really super sharp. So you really don't want to handle this with your bare hands until you are ready to put them in the water bath. So before I do my water bath, I always sand off all my sharp edges. If you do it after your water bath, you're going to need a grinder to do it, because the water bath is going to solidify these vessels, and they are going to be rock hard. So I use a 60 grit sandpaper here, and I keep going until I have nothing left of the sandpaper, obviously. And I clean up my crumbs as I go, because like I said, I don't want anybody snacking on it, on the pieces that fall on the ground. So these oval molds, I don't know, a lot of you probably have these. They're not the easiest to demold, but they are once you can get these hard tops off. Some of mine are awfully tight, and others you just give a little shake and it just drops right out. But I love them, and my customers love them, and I got these off Amazon. I will also put a link in the description. Everything in this video will be in the description below. And if there's anything that I miss, please go ahead and say something in the comments, and I'll find a link for it. This mixing bowl I got from Costco. I got 2 of them for $19, and they're awesome for doing my water baths. So I put all of my vessels in, and then I will demold these oval ones, which these ones are really, really easy. You just roll off one side, roll off the other, and they're done. And like I've said before, these oval ones are my best sellers. Of all of the molds that I have from all of the different companies, and you all have the same molds from all the different companies as well. These ones came from Amazon, and they were about $16 each, maybe $19 for a couple if I didn't get all of the $16. I have a lot of them, but they're definitely under $20. And every single mold that I have, every candle that I have, every concrete candle that I sell, none of them have come near the selling power that these ones have. People love these vessels and as candles. So I'm just going to clean up the mess here and take out my silver bowl again, and the edges are sharp, so you definitely want to sand those off. You don't want anyone to cut themselves with that. You don't want to cut yourself with that. And it also is damaging to furniture. You don't really want that to be scratching around. By the time I'm done sanding my vessels, they are so soft at the bottom. They're just as soft around the edges as they are on the top there. So there I am showing you that I use the 60 grit sandpaper, and I just keep folding it until I can find spots that I can use, and then eventually I will throw it out and grab another one. So after I'm finished sanding all these down, I'm going to put them in the water bath as well. And we've talked about the water bath before. The water bath, purpose of the water bath is it is going to strengthen it. So this is a hydraulic cement that you use, and it definitely cures in water. It's not an air drying curing concrete. It's a water curing concrete. So you want to put it in that water bath for 24 hours. There's a huge difference in the strength of the vessel when it comes out of the bath versus not putting it in a bath. And although it looks like sometimes your vessel comes out all different colors, it's beautiful when it comes out of the mold, then you take it out of the water and you're like, oh my goodness, what have I done? It goes right back. As soon as it dries, it goes back to exactly what it looked like when you first took it out of the vessel. So don't panic, just go ahead and do it. It's excellent. I've been able to use my vessels over and over and over as part of our refill program. My customers can fill these vessels 15 to 20 times before I tell them they have to retire it as a pen holder
or brush holder or whatever, because I get no cracks. And so far, I don't even have anyone who has, any of my customers who have exceeded that yet. I've just told them in advance, there will come a time when you won't be able to fill them anymore. They'll start drying out. So here they are in the water bath, and I just leave them in this water. They're fully submerged. I make sure every part of it is. And I bathe everything. I bathe my lids. These are all have already been water bathed, as you can see. They're still exactly the same as they were. And when I took them out of their bath, they were dark. And so these ones are drying. They're probably about 24 hours in. So here's the lasering part of it. This is the coolest thing. I have a fellow by the name of Mark Durkach and his lovely wife, Jasmine. They both own a business called Wouldn't It Be Nice? And they're just a couple of stalls over from me in the market. And they laser my vessels for me. So I come into the market every Saturday. I bring them a box of vessels for them to laser. And they pretty much just do it right there on site while they're working. And it's awesome. This is an amazing machine, and it's made a big difference in our vessels. So here's kind of like a slow motion shot of what it does. It's actually really cool. And there's their company, Wouldn't It Be Nice? They do all kinds of things. They make these excellent wood cutting boards, and they have the funniest, coolest names on there. So check them out. I'll put a link to them down in my description box as well. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook. They have some really, really cool stuff. So they went ahead and they lasered my vessels for me. And look at that. Aren't they amazing? No more stamping, no more labels, just lasering. And so here's that picture I was telling you. Look at how glittery it is. It's so cool. So after I get them lasered, I bring them home and I then seal them. I don't have to seal them before or after. I think it's just the process that I have. I finish making them. I wait for them to cure. I bring them to Mark. Mark lasers them for me, and I bring them home and I seal them. So I use the Rutland's glass water, as everybody knows, water glass, sorry, and I use a 3-to-1. So I'll put in 1 cup of the Rutland's, and then I'll put 3 cups of distilled water. I don't use any other water, only distilled water. And when you mix it together, and of course, put your PPE on, put your gloves on. I also have safety glasses on right now. I don't want to get a splash in the face of this stuff. But you can look up the MSDS sheet for Rutland's. It is an excellent product. I love it. It's the only one I use. I have tried every single one out there. I've tested them all. I have videos of me testing them all. This is the one I land on, and I love this sealant. It is fast. It is cheap. It is, well, inexpensive. And I can do 60 vessels in 20 minutes. I mean, I don't paint it on. I don't anything. I just put it in. Now make sure that you mix it up really well, because you've mixed a 3-to-1 ratio. You don't want to end up with just a little bit of water and a little bit of it. So mix it all together. And then what I do is I just grab my vessels and I just drop them right inside the sealant. Once again, it will come out dark. Look at that. Look how it turned from a beautiful white to a blotchy dark gray. That's fine. That's exactly, it will be white again when it comes out, when it dries. So it's fine. Just don't let that panic you. It is definitely seeping into where it needs to. Cement is a porous texture, and so therefore it's just soaking in. Now I do this 4 times. I will just dunk and roll and wipe. I wait an hour. I dunk, I roll, I wipe. I wait an hour. I do that 4 times. And at the end, I have a nice saturated cloth. And then I go over and I wipe the whole thing again. You might call it the 5th coat, but it's really not. All I'm doing is just smoothing out the edges, and by then nothing is absorbing anyway. So as you know, sealant has one purpose, and that is to have no water or any kind of oils or any kind of liquids or anything like that. It repels it. So if you wait a day between each coat, your sealant has now cured, and it is actually doing its job, and it will repel itself. You will try to put that second coat on, and it will repel it, and it will leave flaky flakes on the outer part of your concrete vessel. So don't do that. Commit to doing all 4 of your coats all in one day, and I do it about an hour apart from each other. And so while I'm dunking, and I stand it up to make sure that I get everything at the bottom as well as inside on the bottom. And I just wipe. And like I said, I do this 4 times. I wait 1 hour, I do it again. I wait 1 hour, and I do it again. And then that's it. Then I cure it for 7 days. 7 days before I put a candle in it, 7 days before I put anything in it. So this sealant, the way that I do it with just 3 cups to 1 cup, I can do 60 vessels with 3 cups and 1 cup. With 4 cups of solution mixed together, I can get 60 vessels, and the question always is, can you save it? There's nothing to save. I'm finished with it by then. You just wipe out your container. So now I am wicking my concrete vessels, and I use this red, I will put a link once again into the description, but I use this high heat sealant glue. It's a like a gasket sealer or something like that, but it is awesome. But when you put it in, you have to wait at least an hour, if not more, before you can pour wax over top of it. So pre-wick your jars 1 hour before you're going to pour, or even the next day. So in these oval ones, I just take my wicks and I divide them in half because they're exactly the right height. Well, I still have to clip some off at the end, but they're not too short is what I mean. So I clip them in half, I drop them into the vessel, and then I will add the clips to it. And then I will add the high heat glue, and then I will put them in place. Now, all of my vessels I have wiped out with alcohol prior to putting the wicks in. No, not unlike anything else. They're sitting in my basement drying for the last 7 days, and there's dust in the air. I have 3 dogs. They're not allowed down in my studio unless I invite them, which is usually when there's nothing dangerous going on. But they're around, and you can get the hair in the vessels and stuff. So I wipe everything down with alcohol before I pour down in my studio. And here are all of the wicks adhered to the bottom of the vessels, and that's that red high temp RTV glue that I'm talking about, and I'll put a link down below. And I think they just look lovely with this. See, there's the gray one with the black, and then there's the black with the gold. I don't decide how the lasering comes out. That's just the way it does, and I love it that way. So as I'm pouring my wax, I use these digiboils. I have 4 digiboils in place here, and I keep them going pretty much all day, every day. So now I'm going to mix my fragrance oil. I use anywhere between 8 and 9% when I'm using my C3 soy. And in this particular fragrance, I've already tested this one out. So this one is going to be just over 8%. And I'm going to mix it in with my melted wax. And I melt my wax to 180 degrees, and then I let it cool down to about 160 before I add my fragrance oil. And when I put my fragrance oil in, I have a timer, and I'll stop the camera and restart again. But I always mix it for 2 full minutes. And then I use this piston funnel, and I pour all of my wax into the piston funnel, and then I pour that into all of my vessels, and you'll see how easy this is to go ahead and do this. And I can get an awful lot of candles poured in a period of time with this particular piston funnel. Oh my goodness, if you don't have one of these, you need to get it, especially if you're making concrete vessels. There is nothing worse than hot wax dripping out of one of those pouring pots down the side of your concrete that you just spent weeks perfecting. And now you can't get the wax off the sides. And that's it. There's nothing. No alcohol. There's nothing. There's nothing you can do once you pour wax down the side of your concrete vessel. If anyone knows the answer to that, please say so in the description below, because I don't know the answer, and I've tried everything. I've even sanded them down and restarted. But anyway, this little pouring pancake pourer gets right down inside the vessel. There is no chance of any splashing or anything. So I like to pour just right over top of my wicks. Actually, I don't know if you notice while I'm pouring a lot of my wicks, I don't pre-soak my wooden wicks because I pour all over them. So here we are. These are now all been poured, and they're going to now cure for a little while. And don't they look lovely? There's no stamps. There's no labels. It's just my company logo lasered on the side, and all of our concrete vessels are now being lasered by that company called Wouldn't It Be Nice, and Mark does an amazing job. I love how my vessels look, and we're going to look at different things. He can laser anything I want on there. So for wholesale accounts, I can do the company's name on there. For weddings or events or Airbnbs, I have a lot of Airbnb customers. I can put their logo on it. The lasering is just incredible. I considered doing it in a mold, but then you can't change the mold. So the laser is the way to go. Put anything I want on there. I can put my anniversary on there if I want. So here they all are done. And I make all of my own dust covers, and this tells me exactly what is inside of the candle. There's the fragrance of the candle. And because we have a refill program, I don't really want to put a label or anything on the concrete vessel that would say like pumpkin applewood, because then the next time they want to get new wax and fragrance oil, they might want to go with campfire smoke on the next one. In which case I just send them a new dust cover with their fragrance oil and their wax and their wicks, and they mix it all together and they have themselves a new candle. And so this is them. I'm going to wrap these all up. I wrap all of my concrete in plastic shrink wrap before I bring them all to the market. And I'm going to do a video on the dust covers. I'm going to show you how I do everything. I've already recorded it all, so we're going to piece that together. And I will notify you when that video is up. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We have a whole bunch of new videos that are going to be coming up soon. All right, have a great day.